Bobby Witt Jr. pretty good at baseball, and one of the reasons why a lot of people, bettors included, very excited about the 2025 Kansas City Royals. How excited are people about Bobby Witt Jr.? Currently the co-favorite, along with Aaron Judge, to win American League MVP. Both guys plus 300 at our show sponsor, BetMGM. Joining us right now to talk the 2025 Kansas City Royals season. This is a pretty good person to have on to do it. And he's a fellow Paisan from New York, so this is really special. Matt Quatraro, manager of the Kansas City Royals, joins us here on You Better You Bet. Matt, Nick Costos, and Femi Abebefe, really appreciate the time. How you feeling a couple days away from real, not like in Tokyo, from real opening day a couple days away?
Yeah, we're ready to go. I mean, you get to this point of spring training. We're in Dallas now, a couple exhibition games against the Rangers, which is nice to get out of the spring training environment. But we're more than ready to go. I mean, it's that time of year. The guys have put in all the work through the off season, through spring training, and that when you see that opening day coming, especially being at home, knowing what the excitement's going to be, it's time to get going.
Oh, it's time to get going, and we absolutely cannot wait for it. Matt, I feel like I'm not doing my job if I don't ask you about Bobby Witt. One of the best players in baseball. Honestly, like one of the faces of baseball. And that's awesome. I'm a lifelong baseball fan, like a Kansas City Royal, like to be at like that level, like face of baseball is pretty great. And like I said, co-favorite to win MVP along with Aaron Judge. So this is not, hey, do you think people should bet on Bobby Witt? That's not the question. Just what do you think the upside is for Bobby Witt Jr. coming up this season?
Well, I mean, the things he's already accomplished in 3 years, I mean, he's only 24 years old. It's really remarkable because my first year, which was 23, it was about halfway through the year when he really started to take off. So you're looking at a guy that's just scratching the surface of what he can be. His at-bats have gotten so much better. They're going to continue to get better with maturity and understanding what pitchers are doing to him. He's the consummate professional when it comes to working behind the scenes, preparing himself, lifting up his teammates. I mean, his selflessness in a desire to win baseball games is remarkable for a 24-year-old. So there's a lot of things that he's going to continue to improve on, I think. And when he does, it's going to be scary how good he is.
Kind of already there. I think he's going to have a ridiculous season this year, Matt, for your team, the Kansas City Royals. I want to talk about a couple of your pitchers here, just in terms of the betting market. Cole Reagans is one of the favorites to win American League Cy Young. Seth Lugo came in second last year in Cy Young voting, only behind Detroit's Tariq Skubal. Lugo about 66-1, a little bit further down the board. Again, this is not like, should we bet those guys to win Cy Young? But I think it just speaks to the strength of your rotation this year. So would love for you to talk about Reagans, like your expectations for the young man this season. Can Seth Lugo kind of have a repeat of last year? And how excited you are about your rotation coming up this season in Kansas City?
Well, that was the hallmark of our team last year, to be honest, was the rotation and the innings they threw and how deep they went into games. They really set the tone for us, like any team's pitching staff. If you have guys that are going 6-7 innings every night and keeping you in a ballgame, you have a chance to win every night, and that's what those guys did. Reagans burst onto the scene after we acquired him in 23. He was AL pitcher of the month in August. Last year, he erupted with his consistency. Lugo is Mr. Consistent. He's got 9 or 11 or 14 pitches, whatever he's got. He changes them all the time. His ability to pick apart opposing hitters, throw a ton of strikes, work quickly, keep guys off balance. The defense loves playing behind him. We got guys, Michael Wacha is another proven veteran. He had an outstanding year last year. We signed him back to an extension. Those three guys at the top of the rotation. We have Chris Bubich that's being put back into the rotation. He was in there in 23. He had Tommy John. He's coming back. He pitched out of the bullpen. Huge role for us last year. We're clearly not where we are in the playoffs without him. And then Michael Lorenzen will start the year in the rotation as well. We acquired him last year at the deadline, and he pitched out of the pen and started for us last year. Extremely versatile. Another guy, 10-year big leaguer, so he has a ton of reps. He understands how to get himself ready. These guys can all pitch, and they all prepared themselves all winter to be those horses, to eat up the innings, to take some of the load off the bullpen. But, we need all 13 pitchers and more to have a successful year. But those starters are what carried us through last year.
I'm sure you're getting asked a lot of questions about Jack Caglione, and we don't know when we're going to see him in the majors. But someone that really excites people that do what we do. I like to bet on sports. He's currently 25-1 to be American League Rookie. He's only hitting what, like 900 this spring, exaggerating just a little bit. And we remember watching him dominate for Florida a couple years ago in the College World Series. There's maybe the inside information here. You give a non-answer if you want. When do you think we'll see Jack coming up in the majors playing for you guys? I would imagine that happens at some point in the near future, but I can be wrong.
Well, that's going to be on Jack and his development. He had a great spring. He was phenomenal in every way, hitting, running the bases, playing defense, as a teammate in the clubhouse, the way guys responded to him and he responded to them. It was remarkable. He handled himself like a 10-year veteran in there. Now, it's unfair of anyone to put that expectation on him to go out and do that immediately in the minor leagues. If he does, that's incredible, and would be more than happy to field those questions and deal with that. But for a guy that's going into his first full season, remember at this point last year he was still playing in college, and there is a big difference between AA and the SEC. You got the best players from every league in baseball going at you night in and night out, and like you mentioned, you got to put these numbers up day after day to show you can do it. Now, he has phenomenal tools. He hits the ball hard. He has good at bats. He knows how to work an at bat. He can hit with 2 strikes. He can hit against lefties. There's a reason we took him that high in the first round. We believe in the guy. But to set a date on when he'll be in the big leagues, that's unfair to him. So let him get out there and play and understand what pro ball is like on a day in and day out basis and knock the door down and get up here.
Are you guys like cornering the market on Italians right now? Pasquantino, yourself, Caglione? Like, is this because I like the strategy. Is that like part of your guys' strategy in team building?
Yeah, the scouting department, and that's one of those things they grade: hitting for power, running, ethnicity, Italian background,
That's Italian. Can he pay? Some have called him the Italian Ohtani. I'm not saying I have. Just saying people have said that.
I have not heard that before.
Well, so maybe I just made it up. I'm sure you know. I hope you know this. It's kind of BS, honestly. Because you're a better manager than Steven. Steven Vogt wins AL Manager of the Year last year. You come in second in the voting. You knew that, right?
I knew I came in second. Yes, I was on the show.
Yes, okay. All right, yes. Right. Does it bother you at all? You could be really honest. And the odds right now for AL Manager of the Year, and this is partly because you guys had a great season last year, so now it has to be like even better this year to potentially win. You're 14-1. You're down the board, man, to be AL Manager of the Year. How does that make you feel?
I was unaware of that and really could care less, to be honest. And to be honest, I thought Voti should have won. They beat us by 6 or 7 games in the division last year. So why wouldn't that be the person that wins Manager of the Year? And to be honest, Voti is one of my favorite people of all time. I was his first manager in the minor leagues, known him since 2006 or 7, whatever year it was, and have been a huge fan of his as a player, as a family guy, all that. So I couldn't have been happier for him at all.
Do you guys are playing the Guardians in the opening series. Is that the team that you guys dislike the most as a team because of their success last year? Doesn't mean you have to dislike the people, but is that the team that you guys dislike the most?
You know what? We really try to keep this into – it doesn't matter who we're playing. On any given night, we need to go out there and try to win. That's our whole motivation is we don't care who's on the other side of the field. We don't care what anybody's record is, win or lose the night before. We don't care about that. All our opportunity is today to go out there and try to beat somebody as badly as we can today. Now, clearly we know they're going to be a really good team. We know the division's going to be up for grabs, and so every game's going to be important against them. So do we want to beat them? Absolutely. If we were starting out with the Yankees or the Dodgers, we'd be trying every bit as hard to beat them as well.
I just want to, because off the air, I made a comment about I'm a Yankee fan, and you were like, oh, God, because I was like, oh, my team's not going to be great this year. You grew up in New York. Is it you kind of get that vibe that Yankee fans are a little, I get that from people. Like, this is not asking you to bash the Yankees, but a lot of people feel that way. The Yankee fans are a little nutty. You grew up here. Was that your experience?
I was a Yankee fan growing up, too. That was the late 70s through the early 90s. That was my my indoctrination
One
into
of those
baseball.
periods was excellent. One of they was really good.
Well,
Another maybe not so much for the Yankees.
Go back and look at those 90. They won a good number of games. They didn't win the division those years. The Blue Jays teams were really good. I mean, the AL East is always a challenging division, but yes, to answer your question, I think the Yankees will be just fine.
Well, Matt, it's interesting because you guys made the trade for Jonathan India, and just like early on in the spring, it feels like it's already getting a lot of rave reviews on what he can do for you guys at the top of the order. What prompted the trade, and what do you expect at the top of the order with India coming over from Cincinnati?
Well, you're right. He's had a phenomenal spring, and in the quality of his at bats, the flexibility in playing different positions, the way he runs the bases. He's just a pro. I mean, he is a professional. And from day one, the first conversation we had with him in the offseason, all he cared about was playing on a winning team. He wants to win baseball games. He wants to do whatever he can to help contribute. The leadoff spot was a tough spot for us last year. We asked some things of guys that we put a lot of pressure on some young players to hit in the leadoff spot. So to have somebody who's done it and knows he can do it and can handle the ups and downs, it's a good thing for our lineup, but it's also probably a good thing for the guys that we asked to do it last year to take a little pressure off of them. So hopefully it does pay huge dividends for us because he really has impressed so far. The reason we made that trade was to try to fill that leadoff spot a little bit, and we love Brady Singer, and Brady's a great major league pitcher. We felt like we had some depth, and hopefully this is a trade that works out for both teams because it was trading good major league players for each other.
Matt, can you give us a player that might be flying under the radar a little bit that you feel like is going to have a good season for your club? And this could be either a hitter or a pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw at the end of last year, Michael Massey made some huge steps forward. He's probably not a household name, but he was hurt, banged up a little bit through the beginning of the year last year. And when he came back, he really became a good major league hitter. He's a good second baseman. He's worked extremely hard at that. He's one guy. Another guy that flies really under the radar is Salvi's backup and Freddie Fermin. He had a phenomenal year for us last year, both offensively and defensively. But when you're playing behind a Hall of Famer, you don't get a ton of attention. But Freddie Fermin's another one that did a tremendous job for us.
Final baseball-related question. I'm sure your answer is going to be, look, we don't care about that stuff, but I think it's interesting. You guys won 86 games last year. Your win total for this year, set by sportsbooks, is 83.5. So the expectation is that people feel like you guys are going to be a couple games worse. Is that something you would ever use as motivation for your club this season?
No, because if we start thinking about how many games other people expect us to win and we're sitting here in March, we got problems. We need to, if you can't think, oh, this is a tough stretch in the schedule or an easy stretch in the schedule, you can only play one game today. And that's what we got to focus on. We can't be worrying about what our record's going to be at the end of September.
What's the best Italian restaurant in New York?
Oh, in New York, jeez.
Or otherwise,
I'll tell you, in Kansas City, it's Garozzo's.
Oh, so that's where we make a trip to Garozzo's.
Garozzo's, yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
We'll be making a trip. I guess my last note as a Yankee fan would be, we love George Brett, right? Right, all-time great player. I think we have enough of George Brett on the TV during these games. Something that you agree or disagree with? Like, can we watch 2024 Royals during the ALDS? It's like it's the George Brett party. Can we watch the freaking baseball game or no? You never get that feedback from anybody.
He's a national treasure, man. I feel really lucky that he's around as much as he is. He's in spring training with us almost every day. And as a kid, like I said, as a Yankee fan, he was public enemy number one when you're a kid, right? I mean, he's the best hitter in baseball. But to get, for me as a baseball fan, to be around him as much as I get to be around him, it's truly special. And the stories, what you see of him is what he is. I mean, he's as bluntly honest as he can be. He's fun to be around, and he loves the Royals. I mean, he bleeds royal blue, and he is passionate about every team that we have.